Super. BS.
What up, my Brolinos? It is I, your baby boy Brank, lovable, back from the dead and ready to bake some bread. I am joined by the ever-present and effervescent...
And omnivescent.
the very common adjective omnivescent used to describe gods.
Yeah, Jay Jolly, CEO of Broler Incorporated, just hitting all your bro needs.
Good, that's what I like to hear. I can't wait to get on that app. I'm on there all the time.
Seriously.
Because it's real, so I'm
Seriously,
there.
we're just helping bros meet other bros. You know, it's just for bro activities.
I love you, man.
Yeah,
That's what that reminds me of. That movie's great, by the way. I love you, man. A bro comedy about a bromance. I miss the days of bromance, man. I feel like you don't see those days anymore. Two bros.
You just don't see. Yeah, you don't see it anymore. It's just it's. There's no movies. There's no I don't know, man. We need more lifted trucks. More like bro time. Saturday needs to be for the bros. Just more stuff like that, you know?
I need to see those truck balls, man. The fact I'm just seeing less and less truck balls nowadays hanging off the spoiler or whatever.
Yeah,
not the spoiler, the exhaust of these lifted trucks.
Truck butts, we need them, man.
I need to see that. We had Super BS, a podcast about video games and bros, mostly.
And bros, mostly bros.
Yeah, I think originally our name was Super Bro Station or something.
Well, that's what the BS stands for. Super Bro Station.
Oh, man, I'm glad we shortened it. Yeah, dude, this has been a weird week in terms of we didn't miss a week, and there is a crazy amount of news to talk about. So if you're wondering what the games we're most excited to play in 2021 are, wonder not, because we're never going to tell you. We may get there in a month or two. But
after they come out, we'll let you know.
After they come out, I'll be like, oh, yeah, that was the game I was most anticipated for. I knew it was going to be 100 on Metacritic. A straight hundo. Yeah, my bro. But before we get to that sweet, sweet news that I know you guys just want to hear about, what have you been playing, Jay Jolly?
Okay, so I have been playing. I downloaded. Finally merged my Xbox Live profile into the Games Pass.
Nice. What does that even mean? I don't actually understand.
Well, I got Games Pass Ultimate, so now I'm saving money per month instead of like paying the $20 a month. I'm paying less. You know, I think I got the first month for free, and now it's like $14 after that per month.
Wait, so you never did the deal that Dr. Donna and I told you to do, the one that's literally made it so far I've spent $81 in 2.5 years, and I have a Games Pass Ultimate? You didn't decide to do that one?
I'm having a hard time judging your tone here.
Yeah, I never am judgmental, as you know. I am always just seeing this as a nice way. I'm not putting you down by saying, hey, I told you this great way to save money a year ago. You buy 2 years of gold.
You're not putting me down, but you're putting my low self-esteem up.
That's what I am.
What's happening
I'm saying,
here.
hey, get that self-esteem up. Okay, well, anyways, I'm glad that you finally made a good decision. I didn't know you were paying for 2 separate services. You could have still, if you would have waited and not merged them, you could have done that same deal. You could have ran over to Costco, spent $90, got 2 years of gold, and paid $1, and you would have had 2 years plus of Xbox Live or Xbox Games Pass Ultimate, whatever, the thing that comes with gold and everything. So
yeah, I could have, but I didn't.
But you didn't text me. You didn't text lovable Baby Boy Brank, who knows all the sweet deals. I would have told you.
Our very own cheap butt gamer here.
Cheap butt. I like how that's a bad thing. The guy who's just, I've been able to buy most games because I don't pay out my butt for them. Anyways, so now that you got Game Pass Ultimate under one roof in your house is now no longer divided. It's connected, and you're rebuilding everything. What is going on with that Games Pass Ultimate? What's the new deal?
So I played Unravel. That was one that I always wanted to unravel or unraveled. Which is it?
Unravel.
Past tense or present tense?
It's
I don't know.
pretense. It's called
pretense. Okay.
Post tense.
So post tense, per tense.
Per tense.
Yeah. Okay.
You're the English
anyways,
teacher. You tell us.
Yeah. Seriously, I wish I knew. So I played Unravel, and it's fun. I just don't really like have patience for games like that right now.
Are you playing a co-op?
No, I'm just playing it by myself because I think Unravel 2 is co-op, but Unravel 1 you can't play co-op on. I think it's just single player.
Oh, wow. Is that true? I thought, and they're both on Game Pass, so you could just skip to 2 and not play.
Yeah, I could.
At all.
Did you know that you can't, like, there's no second-party controllers for Xbox? So I went to go buy one the other day, and they're like $65, dude. I don't want to spend that money right now.
If you would have come to me, I could have told you I just bought a new Xbox controller for $40, man. I mean, they just had a deal not too long ago. They'll have another one soon. If you're unlucky and your controller goes bad at a certain point, like mine did, then you got to pay full price. My PlayStation 4 controller went bad right before Last of Us Part 2 came out, and they were also like out of stock everywhere. So I had to pay full price for that. So yeah, it blows, but you got to do it, man. You got to live that dream.
You got to do what you got to do. Anyway, so Unravel is this game. You're this little like ball of yarn, and from what the music's really great. Yarny. The music is really great in this game. Like it's so calming and soothing, and like you play these levels where you're in the farmland and you can hear the birds chirping, or you're at the beach and you can hear like the water rushing. Apparently Yarny can't swim, so don't try to jump into the water with Yarny. He will not float.
Have you ever thrown yarn into water? It sinks. Okay, everybody knows that.
Does it? I only wear sweaters in the water, and I float, so I just assumed.
Yeah, your sweaters float. You would imagine that on the body weight, you'd be sunk and dead. Let's do a challenge where we put you in the water with the sweater in the frigid lake. Okay, we'll do the lake challenge.
I have yarn swim trunks, so I mean, I just thought that was a normal thing.
Yes.
So you're Yarny, and there's a lot of mechanics as far as like, actually there's not a lot of mechanics. You're just like jumping, and you can throw your yarn and lasso. You have to like keep finding new balls of yarn in order to like progress further in the level. So you like unravel. There's just random balls of yarn everywhere. You can unravel it and add it to yourself so you can go further. You can climb up your yarn. You can swing, but the thing is with this is that there are so many like points for the yarn to latch onto that you have to be very specific when you swing. Like that's the only thing so far I don't like about it, because like I don't have that kind of like patience. You know, if I fail at something 5 times in a row, I'm just going to stop playing. And I think that's where this game is probably going to lose me. Like I will probably jump back into it at some point, but again, if I fail at something more than 5 times, I'm probably just going to quit playing it.
I mean, we always called you Old Perseverance, right? Because that's what your
old Perseverance. Yeah,
we knew that you would be the type of person who would persevere. So you do that up to 5 times, which is what perseverance says. People persevere can do things up to 5 times, and then
up
they
to
give
5
up.
Times, no more than that. Yeah,
one more time than that, and you're done. That's the most a humans ever played.
These games, they got 5 chances to capture me, and that's it. Man. I'm like a Pokemon.
I want to see you finish a Dark Souls game, man. That would be actually a lot more fun to watch than you playing Unravel, a game that I bet isn't very difficult, and giving it 5 times. Oh my goodness, Jay Jolly, what are you doing with your life? Okay, so besides playing this 70-year-old game, Unravel, you did play something more recent, right?
Yes, I did. I played Outer Wilds.
That's neat. I tried that out last year. It's pretty cool. What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I'm liking it so far. I just took off into space. Haven't really played past that point, but
the physics are interesting.
Physics are interesting. I kind of dig the story. This is another one where like the music's really calming. Like I like it a lot, and I don't know. Like I had a good time before I got on the spaceship. I enjoyed exploring like the little home front where they all live, where all the people are, and talking to them and see what's going on in this world.
Yeah,
I'm excited to play more. There's like some big like mystery happening with trying to discover like the origins of this alien species and what happened to them. So I'm excited to dive back into that. It's from what I understand, like it's a game where it's kind of like Groundhog Day, right? Where you just play the same day over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give away. I mean, that was in the Nintendo Switch presentation, so I guess it's not that much of a spoiler anymore. But that
Yeah.
was the spoiler for that game. Is yes, it is a 22-minute game. Since we have spoiled that and ruined Outer Wilds for everyone, yeah, I never actually got to the 22-minute redo. I played it one time, played probably about 15 minutes, I guess, and
geez.
then I gave up.
Yeah, way to commit to this.
Yeah, I know. You know me, Mr. Commitment.
Yeah.
I think it's neat. I think it's cool, but it's hard for me to latch on to games where there's not really any direction. And it was fun, but I landed on a planet where there was nothing there. And then I forgot what happened. I ended up getting to another planet, but I missed it. So I got stuck in a black hole. And that was kind of how it ended. I was like, oh, okay, I've got to redo this. That was before, I didn't even know what the spoiler was at that time. I didn't know what the plot of the game was or what the gimmick was. But yeah, I've heard great things about it. I personally don't think I'll ever go back to it, but I've heard a lot of people was their favorite game of 2019. So
All right.
yeah. And anything else you want to touch on? I know you played some older stuff that we talked about last week. Anything new in those?
No, not. Oh, so I mean, I right now I'm about to finish Pokemon Sword, but I'm really just trying to like go back and make sure I got all the Pokemons that I am able to catch before I finish the game off.
Yeah,
we'll talk more about Pokemon later, though.
I
excited
know.
about that.
Yeah, this has actually probably been the biggest week for Pokemon in, I don't know, probably a year or two at least.
Yeah.
So I've played a lot of old things like Miles Morales and all that jazz, but I'm not going to waste your time with that. I am not finished with it. I'm probably 3 hours into Miles Morales. I'm at the end of Cyberpunk. Still haven't done the last mission. I'm kind of like quirking around with those games, but the new things I played this week were I played the Project Triangle Strategy demo on the Switch. After we talked about it last week, I was like, oh, I should check it out. It's a game I think that does not demo well. Like, I think it's fun and I think it's cool, and I think when it comes out, I'll probably really enjoy it. But it puts you in chapter 6, I think is where you start, and you have you have like a cast of characters who, you know, they're similar archetypes to like Mage and all these other people, but there's a lot to do, and it's a tactical game. And I just feel like tactical games, it's really hard to show them off in a demo form because they're such long, it takes so long to play. You know, you got to build your squad and level up and do all this other stuff and find the classes.
How do you level up in like a tactics game though? I mean,
did you not play Final Fantasy Tactics?
Well, I did play Final Fantasy Tactics, but I don't remember how the system worked. Because in most of the tactic games that I play, you're just moving on a very linear path.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, I mean, most of the tactics games that I've played, like Fire Emblem Three Houses and a few of the other more recent ones, generally the way you get experience is if you attack. So, like, for Fire Emblem Three Houses, you'll get experience every time you have that unit attack. Some games have it so you get experience at the end of the mission, so if you finish the mission. A lot of them are very different. Like Final Fantasy Tactics, if I remember correctly, you could level up by attacking your own guys, because as long as you attacked someone, you would get experience. So a lot of people would, like, save one enemy and just beat their own people and then keep healing so they could just keep leveling up. Project Triangle Strategy so far I wouldn't say it's obtuse because I don't know a lot about it. So I can't really make a whole lot of judgment calls. I think it looks beautiful. It's the same as the Octopath Traveler engine, the HD 2D they're calling it.
Okay.
Yeah, question. You got a question. I got to hear that.
No, I was going to make a triangle joke because you said Project Triangle is obtuse, and I was going to ask if it was isosceles
or acute. Nice, man. That's an acute joke. Yeah, I hope they keep that title. It is so stupid, man. It's right now it's called Project Triangle Strategy working title in parentheses. So yeah, dumb name. Hopefully it's great. I enjoyed the demo, I guess. I don't really know what to say because, like I said, I just don't think tactical games demo well. And then I also played the Outriders beta. Are you familiar with this game, Jay Jolly?
I am not.
So Outriders is made by People Can Fly. They did that game Bulletstorm on the 360. And this is published by Square Enix. It is a live service game. It is a third-person action shooter. It kind of plays like Mass Effect. Like I would, it's not as good as Gears of War, but it's a semi-cover shooter. You choose from one of 4 classes. They all are kind of like magic, technomancer or pyre or fire incinerator. I can't remember what they're called. But anyways, you choose from these 4 classes and you run around and shoot guns, and it's fairly fun. But my main thought on the entire beta was it feels like a 360 game. It doesn't look even as good as like late gen Xbox One games. I mean, parts of it do, but most of it doesn't. And it plays like a 60 FPS 360 game. So it's weird, man. Like I'm not sold on it at all. I'm not a live service game guy to begin with, but I don't know why somebody would be like, I want to play this instead of Division 2. Like I played Division 2, I played the beta for that or whatever, and that was more fun, I think, than Outriders. But yeah, that Outriders was originally supposed to come out at the end of last year. It got postponed. I want to say it's coming out in like March or April. I'm going to check this out for you guys. If you like live service games and, so it looks like it's April 1st is when it's coming out. April Fool's Day, because it's a fool's game.
So is this supposed to be like a game that competes with Apex Legends?
No. This
PUBG?
is supposed to be more like a Destiny, Division, games where you like keep grinding loot and you play together with friends. I didn't get a great sense for anything in the game other than that the beginning was very cool to look at because it was like a green foresty world. And the story was so boring and I was getting so tired that I kept skipping cutscenes. So I ended up falling into like a brown deserted world. I'm not sure how I got there. And that seems to be where a lot of the game takes place. And I hated it. It reminds me of the original Gears of War's color palette. And I just don't really want to play a dirty, grimy game that looks like it takes place in a mound of dirt. You know what I mean? Like they didn't want to give you any grass or any type of greenery. It's just like, oh, look at this, Mad Max cop-in or cop-out style place that's not as detailed as Mad Max. So, yeah.
So you're prejudiced against some of the less fortune gaming environments. Is that what you're saying?
That's it, man.
You can't all have green grass and big houses and
man, give me
spaceships, man. Sometimes we just got to play in the dirt and get grimy.
Put me in Elysium, man. Keep me out of that land place where all those losers live. Put me at Elysium where we can live forever. Did you watch that movie, by the way, Elysium with Matt Damon?
It was like, I did. It's nothing but like a weird political commentary film, and it ended up like caving in on itself in the end of it.
It's such a bummer. I remember being so excited for that. I love District 9. And honestly, I even think Chappie's better than Elysium. I watched Chappie as like an early screener. I've never gone back because it was extremely long. But I did like Chappie when we watched it. It didn't have all the effects in yet because it was like, hey, watch this thing and then give us a review. And then a year later it came out. And yeah, I enjoyed Chappie. I think Elysium is not a great film. So
yeah, well, did you see District 10's coming out? They started production on it.
Oh, really? Oh, I don't know. I know that director for like a hot minute, Neil Blomkamp or whatever his name is.
Halo.
Yeah, he was supposed to do Halo, and there is now a Halo TV show coming out by Showtime.
Yeah, but it's on an app. It's on Paramount Plus. You can't watch it unless you have that streaming service.
Yeah, I know. That is frustrating. At least they're consolidating CBS All Access into one new one. So I think a lot of these streaming services, there's probably going to be like 8 of them in the future, and they're all going to be consolidated. But anyways, back to Outriders. If you like live service games and you've listened to this, well, it's too late because the beta's done. But if they have a second beta, check it out. Maybe you'll dig it. I think it controlled relatively well. I just didn't find it fun at all. So I don't know. I don't think you're a big live service game guy. Like, did you play Destiny 2 or any of those games?
No. Nope.
Did you actually play Destiny 1?
No, I remember that like my brother and Big Dog were playing it, and then they got over it before I could get onto it, so I just never played it again.
It's kind of
at all.
It's kind of strange you didn't play it. I mean, it was pretty much the successor to Halo, and I really enjoyed the story segments of the original Destiny, like the first 20 hours of the game. Like I beat the main story. I just could care less about the live service elements, so I fell off after I finished and never went back. But the co-op was fun when I did try the original Destiny, and the PvP was good. I played some Destiny 2, so I have some familiarity with these style of games. I just don't like the grind. I don't think it's fun. That's why I stopped playing WoW years ago. Like I don't playing one game forever that you need to put hours and hours and hours and hours into every day is crazy. Like I play Apex, and I play that maybe like 30 minutes a day, but it's like just a fun multiplayer shooter that I dig. It's not like I gotta grind this gear.
Yeah, so you're down to playing WoW like 3 times a week now instead of 5.
That was exactly what I was trying to get at. I still
just
play
make sure
WoW.
We're on the same page.
Just less. I play less WoW. Did we actually get around? I think we did. We talked about BlizzCon last week, right?
Yeah,
and
we
WoW.
did.
Yeah, man.
You made a lot of weather-related jokes last week. I listened to the episode.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, it wasn't cold enough for us, so we had to talk about Blizzard. No, that was because I was over in old Tejas, man. Let's get to some of this news. Should we do a breaky poo? Yeah, let's do a breaky poo.
Sure.
Super BS. Super BS.
Now we is back. I am ready to bring you the good news of gaming, and Jay Jolly will join me on what will be a wild ride. Before we get to the actual news, I want to touch on some rumors. About a week and a half ago, maybe it's 2 now, Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct, and a lot of us were really excited that they were going to discuss Zelda stuff. That did not happen. They really only discussed Skyward Sword HD, and that was a lot less than a lot of us wanted to hear about. However, the rumor mill has begun, and one of the biggest rumor dudes, who actually has a pretty good track record of just telling you stuff that's going to happen before it comes out, Jeff Grubb, he mentioned that they haven't even begun to talk about Zelda's 35th anniversary. And a lot of that is due to the fact that Mario's 35th anniversary doesn't end until March, I want to say.
Mario's so selfish, man. Why can't he just have like a week? He's got to have his own birthday month.
I mean, he's a piece of shit, man. I mean, everybody knows that about Mario. I mean, he's just like, get that guy out of here. Get him out of here. Make Luigi the main dude. He's a good guy who's not dumb. Anyways, so Mario's 35th ends at the end of March, and the rumor is that between that and the fact that they really want to push Skyward Sword, we are not going to find out a whole lot about this Zelda's 35th anniversary till maybe late summer, because they really want people to buy Skyward Sword, and that's considered to be one of the worst modern 3D Zeldas. So the rumors they're not going to discuss.
Can you clarify something for me? Zelda he's the guy, right, with the sword? He's the wielder of the Skyward Sword. That's Zelda, isn't it?
That is. How'd you know that, man?
I just want to make sure I'm linking these things together.
Buddy. Yeah. Anyways, everybody knows who Link is, and everybody knows who Zelda is. This is a video game podcast. Yes. So, anyways, Zelda's 35th anniversary. It should be Link's 35th anniversary. His story, not her story. It is. It's probably going to happen. The hope is that Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, news about Breath of the Wild 2, whatever else is coming, but we might not hear about it till after Skyward Sword HD.
So how many Zelda games do you think are going to get HD remasters or remakes? And then my other question is, do you think that they would be likely to have that team that's been working on the Ocarina of Time remake in the Unreal Engine? Do you think they'd be likely to hire that team to do a remake of the game for Switch?
Oh, at first I thought you were talking about Grezzo, who's working on Miitopia. Oh, yeah, that I don't know. I feel like Nintendo's so weird about stuff like that. They're more likely just to put a cease and desist against Cool Creations than to actually
think about
hire those people.
If the game is already like more than halfway done, because they've been working on they crowdfunded it, people have been paying for it.
Yeah.
So you think if Nintendo is in a situation where they can just make strict profits off something, all they got to do is maybe give a small portion to the guys that made it, and then they're set to make just pure profit on it. what do they have to lose? That's what is not making any sense to me. You know, why cease and desist? Just have them finish it, and then they could profit off of it as well.
I mean, somebody remade Metroid 2 like better than Nintendo did, and they cease and desisted that. Another Metroid remake. I think we talked about that on old Super BS. Yeah, that's just Nintendo, man. Doesn't matter if the product's better than what they're working on or the product's equally good or whatever. They don't care about that stuff. They don't want you touching their IP because they're worried about opening the floodgates for that. I agree with you. I think that they should consider pulling a Sega. And, supposedly the best Sonic game is that Sonic Mania, which is created by a fan. I want to say his name is Thomas Whitehead. And, he went out there and created that. And people say it's the best Sonic in years, in probably a decade. So, yeah, you could do stuff like that. But if you're Nintendo, I just think they don't see any value in it. I think it's foolish of them, but whatever. It's Nintendo, man. They're making so much money now that they could release nothing this year, and they probably would still make the most money of all the three consoles.
And here's the thing, too. Yeah, I know we're going to talk about the PlayStation State of Play thing in a minute, but like Nintendo can, as they did, they can go 6 to 8 months without saying anything about anything.
Yeah.
And they can have like a 30-minute or 30 to 40-minute direct full of things that people may or may not care about, and people will love them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't matter what Nintendo does. Like, they hadn't had a direct since September of 2019, and then they had one February 2021. Nintendo was the highest selling system, I want to say, every single month last year. I want to say they've held that streak now for 19 months. So I know the PlayStation actually made more money than them, but because there's just not enough PlayStations and Xboxes out in the wild, or made more money than them last month. Because of that, it's still Nintendo Switches, they're selling more units. Yeah, it doesn't matter, man. But my hope is that, while Nintendo doesn't seem to care about making more money, because I feel like they have an opportunity to get me to buy more of their games, like, hopefully they will give Zelda the same 35th anniversary treatment they gave Mario, which, to be fair, Mario's 35th anniversary treatment kind of sucked. Super Mario 3D All-Stars wasn't a great package, and the, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury was neat, but that was kind of it. They had that and that weird Nintendo Online Mario 35 thing that was just a ripoff of Mario 99, a fan creation that they cease and desisted a couple years ago.
Well, it also kind of felt like, what was it, Tetris, the Tetris Effect or Tetris 99 or whatever it was, when you had all the people playing Tetris together.
Yeah, that was Tetris 99, yep.
Yeah.
But anyways, they had a Mario 99 that was like kind of rip off of Tetris 99. That was a fan-made thing, got cease and desisted. This was about a year and a half ago, maybe 2. And so then they made Mario 35, which was the same. Anyways, all that I'm trying to get at with this rumor is my hope is that at least the Wii U games, Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, which were both remade in HD and released on Wii U, I'm just hoping they come to Switch. Because I never played my Wii U, and not really so much Twilight Princess, but I'd love to replay Wind Waker. I think that's one of the more fun 3D Zeldas. I don't know if you ever got a chance to play it back in the day.
No, I played Twilight Princess barely, and then I got rid of my Wii after that. So
yeah, man, the Wii was not my favorite console, and it got 2 Zeldas, Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess, and by the time Skyward Sword came out, I was pretty much just playing 360 and PS3 and getting rid of Nintendo stuff. So we'll see. I'm hoping this rumor's true. I hope we get even more stuff. I would replay Ocarina of Time in a heartbeat. I would love to see even some of the 3DS stuff. I'd love to see new stuff, but nonetheless, I just hope they do anything else, because just ending at Skyward Sword HD and not having Breath of the Wild 2 for another year, it's going to be rough for at least that fan base. Speaking of rumors, and I'm hoping this one is true, Comic Book Gaming, or whatever, that last rumor was from Nintendo Life, Comic Book Gaming had a rumor that Xbox will reportedly hold an event related to Bethesda next month. And this is again by Jeff Grubb, that same VentureBeat dude or GamesBeat guy that I just mentioned for the Nintendo stuff. He said that because the Xbox Bethesda acquisition it's not supposed to go through till March, but supposedly there will be a big announcement or showcase when this actually goes through. And that will give us maybe some information on what's going on with the Elder Scrolls, what's going to happen with exclusivity, what this whole entire acquisition means. They're saying to expect it in mid-March. Nobody's sure, but I really hope it happens because, these last couple of weeks, we're going to talk about the state of play here soon. And a week ago, we talked about Nintendo and Blizzard.
Yeah.
Microsoft's been quiet right now, besides like a headset.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we still don't, with the exception of Halo Infinite, we still don't know like what's for sure coming out this year. So it would only do positive things for them to give us a glimpse of what we can expect. And hopefully one of those Bethesda announcements would be something hitting the market in 2021.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it on the head. Like, they need to announce what their lineup is this year, and hopefully some of the Bethesda titles are coming. I am also kind of hoping they don't allow the PlayStation exclusivity of Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo to be a full year. I know they're allowing that deal to go through, but I'm hoping that's a short-lived deal because, we're going to talk about some other games here soon, but these Sony exclusivity deals just kind of suck. Like they're kind of annoying when they keep buying third-party rights to games that are like 1 year exclusives. And it's like, oh, okay, I got to wait this year. Or, I have a PlayStation, so I'll play them on PlayStation. But it just sucks for people who don't want to buy a PlayStation when it's not like a Sony-made game. It's just them buying the exclusivity. So we'll see what happens. A lot could change. Nothing might happen. I know Microsoft is still, I think, planning to do E3 as normal or like an E3 showcase. So there's a chance maybe none of this will be talked about till then. But they really need to announce something that's like coming out before June.
For sure. Yeah.
Because you bought a Series X, right? Like we did. And there's really not been a reason to outside of, I'm loving the upgrades of all the games and how much better everything runs. But there's been nothing like new or nothing worthwhile for this thing. Do you have anything to add about that before we go to our next story?
No, I mean, yes, I hope that this rumor is true. I hope we get updates on Starfield and maybe a little. I know Elder Scrolls is like years off, but at least like let us know, hey, this is still, we're working on it. And then I would love to have like an HD remaster pack of like Morrowind and Oblivion. That would be real cool.
That would be really awesome. We'll see what they do. I mean, you could buy Morrowind right now on your Xbox and it runs a lot better, but it would be nice to see like I'd be down for a remake of Morrowind. Like it's been long enough. Like, that would be cool.
I like the game, but just the fact that and we've talked about this a lot, but the fact that you can't tell when you're actually hitting somebody, like that bothers me so much. Just put in a freaking sound effect, man.
Yeah, I think, hopefully the new engine, I've heard Bethesda is working on a new engine for the Elder Scrolls. Hopefully that comes into play because I feel like even Skyrim just isn't great. I feel like you're swinging a butter knife and you're not sure when you hit, like compared to more like visceral combat games where there's vibration or you can kind of feel that like clashing of swords. I don't feel like that in Skyrim. I feel like you're just swipe.
Yeah,
and,
you literally are. Like, it sounds like you're swinging a weapon through an antique shop. When you hit someone, you're just... I think that's one thing. We could talk about this at a later date, but I think that's one thing where the next Elder Scrolls are really going to have to improve on is their combat system. There's all these games with such intricate combat systems now that I feel like Elder Scrolls kind of needs to step up their game to stay fresh.
Yeah, I'm hoping that happens. So the next article I want to bring up, just because this never gets old to me in terms of this is the dumbest thing that politicians keep trying to do. Chicago lawmakers proposes bill to ban sales of violent video games like GTA 5. I don't know if you remember that guy back in the day. I want to say his first name is Jack something. He like hated GTA and it was like his lifelong goal to try to get GTA to stop being able to be sold. Do you remember this? GTA 3 when we were kids?
I remember I remember Christian moms like getting out the pitchforks and torches for that one, just like they did with Harry Potter. But I didn't realize there was a political thing over it.
Yep, Jack Thompson. That was his name. Yeah, he was trying to bar the sales of violent video games. And anyway, so a new guy, Democratic Representative Marcus Evans Jr., has introduced a bill that will amend the city's 2012 law that prevents sale of violent video games to minors to be expanded into a full ban. So I only bring this up because stuff like this is a little bit scary. In Australia and a few other countries, these bans actually got through. And that in countries like that, people have to remake their games to either take out the violence, or in case like Fallout 3, I don't think it was allowed to be sold in Australia at all.
Jeez.
And
Interesting.
I want to say Germany had a bunch of other games that you weren't able to buy as well. Now, do I need a game where you decapitate people? Yes. No, I'm just joking. Do I need like ultra violent stuff? Not really, but the fact of the matter is, like, video game makers should be able to make the game they want to make, and if that game is violent, then parents and other people should be responsible to be like, oh, hey, this is extremely violent. Let's monitor that, versus what's going on now, which is like politicians are trying to blame the fact that supposedly there have been a huge amount or a huge increase in carjackings this last year, probably because the fact that people aren't able to work and the cost of living's gone up.
Nothing to do with Grand Theft Auto. That's in California. I mean, I keep hearing stories about people getting their catalytic converters stolen. They're not like stealing cars and running over prostitutes. They're just stealing parts from cars that are worth money.
Yeah, it's a lot of that has to do with economic things that, I mean, politicians don't want to take the blame for, right? Like, hey, close down stuff, people lose their jobs, we're not going to take any blame, so blame other things.
Yeah, we destroyed our families and friendships over people who won't even pass a bill to help people get money to pay for things. So I mean, it's such a big I don't know. It's scapegoats. It's all scapegoats. It's tiny squirrels moving around a much bigger issue.
Yeah, totally. It is little squirrels. Actually, that was what the article was called, the squirrel issue. And they're trying to get those nuts, which is their laws passed.
Well, so do you remember there's a California politician, I think his name was like Leyland Yu or something like that, and he tried to ban the sale of violent video games. He was introducing legislation, and then I think it was 3 or 4 months later, he got arrested for weapons dealing.
Oh yeah, I think he's might be Leland Yee. In 2005. Yeah, he's sponsored by then California State, which banned the sales of violent video games to anyone under the age of 18. And yeah, these people, I mean, they're so corrupt, man. It's so ridiculous that anybody would even pay attention to what they say. But whatever, man. They're politicians. They have a lot of power in our modern day world, and the fact that people think that they should be able to decide what we watch or look at or talk about is ridiculous. But I don't know. I just bring up the video game thing because hopefully nothing will happen because of it, because these things, they try to pass these all the time. But there has been some precedents in other countries for this exact thing happening. And, like I said, I don't know if I need the Doom level of grotesque gore and violence, but if there's no more GTAs, that would kind of be a bummer. GTA games are fun. I've played every GTA game that came out. So I like them. They're fun. I've never wanted to steal a car in my life, but I've enjoyed playing GTA because it's a pretty fun open world to drive around.
And, they assume that people can't separate video games from reality. And I think the reality of the situation is they're the ones that can't separate video games from reality because they're constantly going after people because of their own perceptions of gaming.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that needs to stop.
I want to say during the Obama administration, they even had a group that went out and researched this, and they came back finding no, video games don't cause violence or any of that stuff. They had a committee put together. This might have been, 6 years ago, but I want to say I remember them going to see if they could find out if violent video games caused violence or whatever. And they found that nothing happened, so the research is out there. It shows that hey, you play a violent video game, you're not going to immediately murder your neighbor. Same as if you watch a violent movie. And this is a very slippery slope angle. If they do ban violent video games, you better believe that violent films and violent TV
for sure. Which is funny because all these, I don't know, we're getting political now, but all these actors who are, anti one side or the other are the ones representing, shooting guns and stuff in these violent movies. I don't know. It's just a very weird dichotomy, I guess.
The whole thing's crazy, man. You saying that reminds me of when Jim Carrey, he played like a comic book hero character.
Oh, and Kick-Ass too.
Kick-Ass
yeah.
too, and he was like,
guns should be banned, and he was like the most violent character in that movie.
Yeah, the whole thing's just hypocrisy to another level. But hey, that's kind of always been the case with politicians. That's the case in Hollywood. That's the case with people as a whole, especially if you go out proclaiming things, because truthfully, most people don't care a ton about that stuff, but they feel like they need to make their voice heard. And, people change day to day. But whatever, man. I just brought that up because I thought it was interesting, and I thought that really ridiculous scapegoat just needed to be brought up. Hopefully nothing happens because of it, and hopefully they disappear. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like, hopefully this Chicago representative is like, hey, somebody comes back and is like, hey, you should let people go back to work and let them make money. You also have one of the most violent districts in the United States. So you've got other issues that aren't based on video games. Anyways, now to new stuff. EA had some kind of news that launched this week or landed. They had been discussing like Anthem Next, their game from 2019, since the end of 2019. They had said they were going to reboot it and make it new because nobody was really playing it. If you remember that game, you could find it for like $5 by like mid to late 2019. It was everywhere for nothing. I own a copy. I played like a little bit of it. It was the game by BioWare. They looked at it and they have decided that they will not be working on Anthem Next. They will not be fixing it. I was assuming it was already being worked on and done, but I guess they were working on it. The pandemic happened. They couldn't make it anymore, blah, 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 blah. There will not be an Anthem Next, probably for the best.
Okay, so Anthem is being canceled not for a tweet they sent out in the 90s, but for financial reasons.
For financial reasons. Not Anthem Medical.
Make sure we're on the same page.
Yes,
here.
it is financial reasons. Yeah, I'm glad that's not for something one person said it worked on there.
From what I understand, they're still not supporting, but I mean, they're not closing their servers, so you can still play it. And if you're thrifty, I'm sure you could find the game for anywhere from $5 to $15 if you wanted to, or if you have Games Pass, you could probably still play it. But
yeah, it's free on Games Pass.
It is kind of a bummer because that game had so much potential. I remember there's a lot of hype surrounding it around E3, and then it had just such a disastrous launch. Because didn't that have lawsuits come out similar to what Cyberpunk's facing, right? Where people there's groups of people trying to sue them for having a game that wasn't what was
a misrepresented game.
I
don't remember that. To be fair, like I played, my brother-in-law and I game share, and he bought Anthem, so I played it at launch. It's just there's nothing to it, man. It's a live service game. I guess the end game had very little to do in there. The only cool thing was the flying. Like if you remember, the whole game is you're essentially Iron Man. And that part was neat. I guess there was very little in-game. If you want to play it and you want to go through the story or whatever, most people seem to say it was like a decent game. But I don't know, man. I just can't care about that when it's like, it's not the style of game I like to play. Like, I would have rather them failed again and made another Mass Effect Andromeda. Because to be honest, if I were to play one of those two games, I would go back to Andromeda, which I did, and not Anthem.
Yeah.
So... yeah. I don't know, man, but out of this whole EA news, one good thing did happen, and that last piece of news was from Game Informer. This is from IGN. Dragon Age 4 will reportedly be a single-player RPG now with no multiplayer. And this is coming because... I
didn't even know there was multiplayer planned for it.
So this was a while ago, but EA had kind of made an announcement around Mass Effect 3 that they really didn't want to do single-player only games anymore. That's why you notice that almost all of their games have had multiplayer suites. However, after the success of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and the troubles of Anthem, this is from IGN, Dragon Age 4 will reportedly be a single-player RPG. I think it's good because I think what's been happening is EA's been forcing things like, Mass Effect multiplayer, which a lot of people loved, but it was kind of forced in there. Or if you remember in Dragon Age Inquisition, there was actually a multiplayer mode that was super lame. And it's just kind of pointless and wastes people's time and development cycles where they could be making a better game. So,
do you remember the multiplayer they had for Assassin's Creed Unity? That was supposed to be a big thing, and then it ended up like ruining development on the single player.
I don't remember ever playing it, but I remember the trailers for it and looking at how cool that looked and being so excited for it. And then I played like 8 hours of Unity. I didn't hate it as much as everybody else, but I definitely did not finish that game.
Didn't enjoy it. Yeah.
So... Yeah, man, I think this idea of forcing people to make stuff they don't believe in, because we're talking about creative stuff. So when you're like, whether it's writing a book or doing something, if a team of executives who only care about a bottom line are the people like saying, hey, you need to do this, most of the time it's going to come out bad because these people don't care about it at all.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So the hope is that people care about Dragon Age, and it's also not being made by a committee, because for all we know, the Dragon Age team is mostly gone. For all we know that, they may not want to make that at all. But EA had one other piece of news. I forgot to put it in here, and I want to say I read it on IGN, that because of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order being such a success, EA is now taking a more hands-off approach to all their studios and allowing them to work on and make what they want to make.
Oh my gosh, good. Like that was a big issue with again, Mass Effect and the Star Wars games to begin with. Like this newest Jedi Fallen Order was amazing, and if that's what it takes to make good games, then yes, more power to them.
Yeah, man, I totally agree with you. I think this idea of them like kind of having a hand or say, and I get that they're the publisher, they're the owner of a lot of these studios, but if they're forcing stuff that the people don't want to make again, it's not going to come out good. We've seen how bad it comes out every single time. Yeah, man. So after all of that Sony news, and we're getting closer to our end here, we have a slew of PlayStation news. Before we get to the state of play, let's talk about some of the stuff that they talked about like the day before, I want to say.
All right, hit me.
They announced PlayStation first-party games are coming to PC, or at least more of them will be.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm curious if Sony is trying to make their own computer streaming or computer service platform, much like Microsoft has done.
I don't know. I think they're realizing that there is no harm, at least, in putting their games on PC. We're still not sure if it's going to be... So the new game is Days Gone, which is a 2019 game coming to PC this April. We're not sure if it's like the game is just, it's going to be 2+ year old games. If it's going to be some games, like is God of War going to come to PC? Is it because God of War was 2018 game? So why isn't that already there?
That could be really cool. I mean, that could probably get a big streaming community.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that are unknown, but I do think games like Days Gone and Horizon Zero Dawn, which came to PC last year, I guess it came in a really, really poor condition though. Like it didn't do a lot of great work to the port, but I don't see a negative. And most of the PS fanboys even don't see a negative, because I was reading like this is an old game, so it doesn't matter. There's a few people like, oh, this can never happen, blah, 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 blah. But grand scheme of things, like these are old games. This doesn't, decrease the idea of doing this. I think letting more people play it. Hey, if they want to do what Microsoft does and let games come day and date to PC, more power to them. I doubt they will, because Sony is so big on selling their consoles and making it like the roadblock where you have to have their console to play their games. But, if they decide to do that, I'm sure their sales will still be good. I'm sure, yeah. People made such a big deal about like Xbox being pointless because games come to PC. A lot of people like you and I, we want to play console games. We want to have the easiest way into gaming. We do not want to have to build PCs and buy new parts and switch out parts and try to figure out when everything's broken on the PC every year and then try to do the best thing and make it look the best. And, it doesn't run at 100 FPS here, so I need to get a new CPU. Like, that's not fun. That is like work to get the game to work. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. That same day, I want to say, and this a lot of the stuff I'm getting is from IGN and Game Informer, Gran Turismo 7 was delayed into 2022.
Oh, yeah. That was like one of their big flagship titles, too. Wonder what's going on there.
I think they announced a bunch of games last year that they had no right to announce, and I think that a lot of their stuff is going to be not canceled, delayed. I do think Ratchet & Clank's going to come out this year. We know it's dated now for the summer. It was originally supposed to be like early, like first quarter or second quarter. It's now coming summer, which I guess is second quarter. And I think Returnal will hit this year, but I wouldn't even be surprised if, I don't think God of War is coming 2021. They put 2021 on that one.
No,
don't think it's happening.
Because that was conspicuously absent from their state of play. So I'm assuming that that's something they're gonna announce has been pushed back around the time E3 or whenever those summer game conferences roll around.
Yeah, and honestly, like I hope it doesn't happen because I think it's one of the few big games they have that are coming this year. But I wouldn't be surprised if Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon 2 or whatever it's called, Horizon Forbidden West, that's the name. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets postponed. Like I think that would be very bad news for Sony. But at the same point, unless it was close to being finished when they showed it last year, I think anything's possible. This is still a weird time, and games were already being delayed nonstop before COVID,
Yeah.
So now things are
true.
even weirder. And speaking of delays, I didn't even get to put this in the news notes, but they have delayed Vampire Masquerades 2 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Nobody
like
knows what's happening.
Yeah.
So I thought that game looked neat. I hope it comes out, but between that and Dying Light 2 and all of these first-person semi-RPG games that are now in development hell, I don't know. I don't know what's happening anymore. I think hopefully Elden Ring and Dying Light 2 and Vampire Masquerades 2, hopefully there's an E3 showcase and they just say, here's what's happening with all of these games. But
give everyone an update.
Yeah, because I mean, if you remember, Dying Light 2, I think was announced in either 2018
that was
or
2 years ago.
Yeah,
it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it might be closer to 3, man. I could be wrong, but yeah, it could have been 2019 and not 2018. But no, it was. The first trailer was shown in 2018. So yeah, I mean, who knows what happened to that game? It was supposed to come out last year, and it just got delayed indefinitely. A little bit of sad news. This was like so far my favorite thing I've played on PlayStation 5. Sony is scaling back its Japan studio. It is not touching the Asobi team, the team that did make Astro's Playroom, which is my favorite game on PS5. However, it is pretty much letting go the majority of the staff who made like Ape Escape, and the people who didn't go to Asobi who stayed at Japan Studios, which made Knack, Gravity Rush, all those games. They helped work on Bloodborne, Demon's Souls remake. That it's getting shut down. And I guess it makes sense. They were saying they were very focused on Japan-centric games, and Japan is buying less and less large consoles. They're still being into their mobiles and their handhelds. So, yeah, weird thing, but kind of a bummer. I love me some Ape Escape.
I was kind of hoping to see one of those appear on the newer consoles, but it doesn't sound like it's going to happen now.
I mean, anything's possible. I didn't put this in the news either, but that Asobi team, they worked on Astro Bot Playroom, I think is what it's called. I can't remember the one that was VR, but they worked on the VR game, Astrobot Rescue Mission. That's it. And Sony announced the same day as all the rest of the stuff that they are indeed making a second iteration of their VR headset.
Oh.
So, we might see some of that stuff in VR. This time I may actually get it just because I liked Astrobot's Rescue Mission or Astro's Playroom so much that I want to play Astrobot's Rescue Mission. We'll see what you have to do. I know there's still one cable coming out of the headset, but I guess it used to be a lot worse. I guess there used to be lots of cables on the original PSVR. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with Sony. This last week was just like a mega ton of news from them, right? VR 2, State of Play, canceling the studio, delaying Gran Turismo, putting games on PC. It was weird. Let's get to that State of Play, man. That State of Play came out. Let's talk about the games, and then I want to hear what you thought about it overall. They started with, I can't remember what they started with actually now. Oh, Crash 4.
Returnal.
No, Crash 4.
Oh, Crash 4, yeah.
Yeah, so it's coming to PS5. We already knew that. Then they talked about Returnal. They did a deep dive. Looks pretty neat. Showed Oddworld Soulstorm, which is going to come to PS Plus in April. They showed that same dodgeball game from Switch Nintendo's Direct, which is crazy.
Yeah, they're really pushing that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Really
they got it
heavy
two
promo
places.
for that.
That game looks so bad. But anyways, they got it in two things. They showed the new game from Absolver. It's called Sifu, or the team that made Absolver. I can't remember their studio name. Then they showed a game I'm excited for, the Hyperlight Drifter developer Heart Machine's new game, Solar Ash, a 3D platformer. They showed a new Five Nights at Freddy's. They showed some more about Deathloop. And then finally, they ended with one more thing. They had Kena Bridge of Spirits, which looks neat. That finally got a date, August 24th. And then finally, they ended with Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which is the PS5 upgrade plus a Yuffie DLC.
And you could tell that had the Kingdom Hearts guy on it.
Nomura. Yeah, and we'll talk. I mean,
Intergrade.
we can talk about it right now. He from IGN later that week, he announced that he's giving over Final Fantasy VII Remake. He's no longer be the co-director. He's stepping away from it. So that could be good news. That guy never finishes anything. This from GameSpot. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, man, it was a weird state of play. Tell me something before we get into just it as a whole. Tell me a couple things you liked about it, and I'll do the same.
Okay, I liked Returnal. Looks really cool. It's got like a Dead Space type. Dead Space meets I don't know, Silent Hill type vibe to it, you know, with like or Resident Evil, I guess, how you're going into like that house in the end. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, a lot of people mentioned PT, which I never played, but that's kind of the vibe they got from it.
Yeah, and then what was it, Kinu, Bridge of Spirits, looks really cool.
Yep.
Kina. Could not be less interested in Deathloop. I've heard some people say they're excited about it, but I just this is a game that like, I like the studio, and I don't know, we've talked about this. I like that studio, but this game just does not look fun at all. So they keep pushing it, but I just don't think it's going to get the hype that they're hoping it's going to get. Other than that, like, yeah, cool. I'll play the Final Fantasy VII, Integrate or whatever it is, but I don't know. It's just like that felt like a weird thing to end the show on to me. Like I was hoping for something that like maybe hadn't been announced, like something like a world premiere type thing, but they didn't really have anything like that.
I mean, yeah, it was weird. The way they set up is they said 10 games that have mostly been discussed plus new titles. The actual new titles were Integrate, the Yuffie DLC, and let me see what else. Sifu, the Absolver thing.
Oh yeah, Sifu actually looks kind of cool.
Yeah, and Five Nights at Freddy's. Security Breach. That's like it. The Knockout City, that was at the Switch thing. Solar Ash they discussed last year. Deathloop we've obviously seen a ton. Oddworld for forever. Yeah, I thought the show was pretty good. Like you, I didn't think it was like amazing. I am happy that they're doing the Final Fantasy VII Remake upgrades for PS5 if you own it. Another cool piece of news we didn't talk about, PS Plus people will get Final Fantasy VII Remake for PS4 for free. It will not upgrade to PS5, so you have to buy the game if you want the PS5 upgrade, but you can at least play that for free if you have a PS4 or a PS5 backwards compatible. But yeah, I'm excited to play the Yuffie stuff. I think that'll be cool. I'm hoping this doesn't mean that the game's not coming to Series X at all, because I don't know if this extends and adds a new year of exclusivity to Final Fantasy VII Remake.
That. I mean, if anything, the Yuffie DLC could probably be exclusive. But I'm wondering this now, though. Are we going to be getting an expansion for each new character coming into the series? Because I know in the wake of that, they announced that there's going to be a couple other Final Fantasy games coming out, right? One's on mobile that kind of retraces the steps of all of the original Final Fantasy VII games, and then there was one more that I don't remember much about.
Yep, I got those right here. Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier, which is a battle royale on mobile. It's a third person in the battle royale. Honestly, if it was coming to Switch, I would definitely give it a shot because it looks pretty cool, but it's mobile only. And Final Fantasy VII: Ever Crisis, which is also a mobile game, which is like it looks like an HD version of the original Final Fantasy VII, but it has every story from Advent Children, Before Crisis, Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, and the original Final Fantasy VII. And then the battle scenes look like they come from Final Fantasy VII Remake. And it says it's real-time action-based combat with many of the abilities, summons, and limit breaks fans would expect. I actually think those both look pretty neat, but they're both coming to mobile only, which is, again, what we talked about just a minute ago, is Japan's not buying consoles. I don't know if the PS5 sold great there. They are buying the Switch and mobile. And
so why wouldn't these games be released on Switch then? If they're powerful enough to run on mobile, you'd think that they would be powerful enough to run on Switch.
The problem is, so mobile has surpassed the Switch by now, by like a huge margin. I mean, what do we pay? $1,200 for our phones, and the Switch is a $300 console. Like I mean, if you look at the graphics for First Soldier, Switch's version would have to look so much worse So
Yeah.
yeah, we need a Switch Pro. I mean, that's not something that's announced or even discussed today, but yeah, I think that stuff looks cool. I think the Final Fantasy VII stuff's in a weird place. They should not have had this intergrade junk, this Yuffie DLC, as neat as it sounds. It's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear that Remake 2 is being worked on, that they're going to get further on that. But that's not like flashy. There's no way to resell you Final Fantasy VII Remake for $70 on PS5 if you do that.
Oh, I agree.
So
I agree.
that's what that's about. I think Deathloop looks cool. I just don't really like the idea of constantly replaying stuff over and over again. I have no interest in Five Nights at Freddy's. Like, I think that was kind of bizarre that got a slot there, but it's a huge game. I love Hyper Light Drifter. I've talked about that so many times. Solar Ash looks amazing. I hope it actually comes out this year. It gave a 2021 date. That's it. Sifu looks cool. I did not like Absolver. It didn't give a date. My guess is that's 2022. And yeah, Returnal looks neat, man. But again, it's a roguelite. It's a $70 roguelite. And then Kena Bridge of Spirits is probably one of the few games where it's like, unless it comes out with bad reviews, I'll probably pick it up because it's $40. It's one of the few PlayStation games that's not $70.
So it's probably going to be a shorter experience.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Honestly, we're running out of time, and there's one last big thing I want to discuss before we hit the road. So we'll probably have to leave the state of play, but it's kind of crazy that they should have told people like, hey, we're not going to be talking about Ratchet & Clank. We're not going to discuss any first party really besides Returnal. Because it's like, I think a lot of people got their hopes up, and I think it was an okay showcase, but I always kind of keep my expectations in check for Sony. Yeah, man. And the final thing, it's just, I just don't want to wait another week to talk about this, there was a Pokemon Presents the day after the state of play. They announced a Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remake. It looks, in my opinion, worse than Pokemon Go, or not Pokemon Go. What was the...
Well, it's a Let's Go, right?
Yeah, Pokemon Let's Go. Yeah.
It's like a chibi version of it. Like the characters are tinier. They're more. It looks like something that you'd play on the 3DS. In my opinion, it doesn't look great. I mean, I would have loved to see them give the Let's Go treatment to it, but it makes me wonder if it was a rushed product as opposed to something that's going to have, shine. Well, no pun intended, put on it.
Yeah. So I watched the nice shine. I watched the 1-to-1 comparison of it in the DS remake. It's much closer than Let's Go, where Let's Go was like a total remake. I do think, they announced some other stuff we'll get to. I think that stuff is why they're releasing this at all, is kind of buying them some time, right? So they have more Pokemon stuff coming out. I think $60 for this is insane. I think this one...
yeah, I didn't know that was the price point for it.
I think this is one of the ones where it's like, they look like they did less work than Let's Go. They should have put this one, like even $50, just $10 off, Before we get to the big news, they had to put another new Pokemon Snap trailer. That game comes out April. Again, it's $60, so it's probably going to be a while before I get to it, if I do at all. And then they announced something that could be incredible. The open world Pokemon Legends Arceus is announced.
Oh, yeah.
It takes place in the same region as Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Sinnoh, and it takes place in the feudal past. So we're probably talking about hundreds of years before.
It's like an Origins type thing.
Yeah, and you are a lot more hot on it than I am. I think it is what I'm interested in. I think it looked really early and janky. I think they're missing a lot of animations when they showed that, and I just think it's one of those games where I think they're going to need a Switch Pro to run it properly. It looks bad right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm curious how far into development it is, as it's slated to release in 2022. So it's who knows? But this is the Pokemon. This is what we've been saying we want out of Pokemon.
Oh, this is what I want.
What kind of excites me about it.
Oh, for sure. No, I totally agree with you. I just think the trailer was janky. Like, I think it looks incredible and could be amazing. It said early 2022. I will be amazed if that game launches before November of 2022. But yeah, I think it could be incredible. The way they show you how you catch Pokemon in the wild, there's no more, from what I saw, there's no more screens. It's that dream that we had, what we hoped Pokemon Sword. Pokemon Sword and Shield was a super up-resed 3DS game. When you look at it, that's kind of what that game is. It was like
Yeah.
a handheld game that is still on rails. They had the wild zones, which I feel like was the test to see if they could do this. And if this is done correctly and their wild zones are cool and interesting and unique and not just a big circle you run around, this could be incredible.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, and it could very well bring a generation of gamers that grew up on Pokemon back to Pokemon, because it makes it's just looking at this trailer, it feels a lot more, I don't want to say adult in content, but more like mature.
Yeah, I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that it doesn't look like you're walking down a single path where there's no way to go, out of order, right? Like that's the thing that makes Pokemon always feel like a kid's game, is it guides you by the hand and tells you where you can go the entire time. The fact also that it looks like battles may be real time for the first time ever. Like, I don't know how they're going to do that, but that could be incredible if they get that done right, where you issue commands and there's like timers that you see. We will see, man. That was a big weight in that show. I honestly was very surprised with that. I wasn't too surprised with the Diamond and Pearl because I had heard about the remake coming. I think those remakes do not look good for $60 games. I think they look not good. They look bad. They look like they should be running on 3DS. But, it is what it is. Every game on Switch that's first party is going to be $60. That's just it, right? Unless you're lucky and they sold me Captain Toad for $40, and that was the best, thing, because that was an old port of a small game, and I was like, oh, that's a fair price. My man, I know we've gone longer than normal. Anything you want to add about this Pokemon Presents before we start hitting that dusty trail?
No, I mean, I'm excited. I'm wondering like how many more remakes they got queued up, and I'm sure we'll find out more come 2022.
Yeah.
But it's just that was not what I was expecting it to be, and I actually feel like the Pokemon conference delivered more than the PlayStation one did.
I think they should have ended the Nintendo Direct with Pokemon Legends. I think that would have been way stronger. Just tighten that trailer up a little bit, get the animations slightly better, and end with that. That would have been... You think about how much better that would have been than Splatoon 3 to see that in.
Oh my gosh, that was so random.
But whatever, Pokemon Company is technically a separate company. They're not owned by Nintendo, Game Freaks or whatever. So it's like, I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. This year's already shaping up to be wild. We haven't even gone over the games we're looking forward to this year because there's always news every week, which is cool. But I don't know what's going to happen, man, because I think a lot of stuff's going to get delayed. But I'm glad they're talking about things.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, my bro, I know I kept you extra long because I want to talk to you about those games and share you the good news, but we're going to hit the road and we will be back next week to give you that truth. We're going to try to do some video here soon. We've discussed it. We're going to make it.
Yeah, we're working on it.
We're going to make this. This is going to be the biggest podcast on the entire planet,
ever.
Okay? So if you're in the ground floor, okay? There's nowhere to go but up, 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 up. Okay, my bro. Peace.
Lights.
Oh, yeah.